So for this recording, I want to look at the depression scale here. Notice what they said here. They're developing a scale. What kind of an article do you think this will be? This will be another psychometric article as well. If you read the abstract, they come up with the clinically useful depression outcome scale. Kudos. Kudos to them. Okay, that was a bad joke. Thanks for laughing. I appreciate that. I should tell you, my father used to say I used to tell jokes for two reasons. Either to make people laugh, number one, or if people were laughing at me, it would keep them awake. So as a teacher, that works either way. Okay, so they come up with this thing, and they do their psychometrics on it. And they run things, and they come up with their various items. Let's see what I wanted to go into here. I think I put it on the agenda here. Let me go back to the agenda here. Let's see, for this article, Table 4. Let's see, where did I put that thing? Oops, wrong thing. There it is. Let's go down to Table 4. Oh yeah, Table 4, a few concepts that might be of interest to you. Validity. There's something called discriminant and convergent validity. So they have a depression scale. Are there a lot of depression scales out there? Yes. If you have a good scale, should it be correlated with these other scales?
Yes.
Yes. And if you look at Table 4, you can see that their new scale correlates highly with the Hamilton and the Beck one. Have you guys heard of these scales? Yes. They're very common. Psychology, OT, PT, PA. So it correlates highly with that. We would say it has convergent validity. Convergent validity. So that's one thing. Now if we look down the list a little bit more, we look at an eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia. Is depression really related to those concepts? No. So would you want your scale to be highly correlated with these things? No. And does it look like it is? No. And guess what you call it when your scale doesn't correlate with things you don't want it to correlate with? Discriminant validity. So we have convergent validity. This is all in the field of psychometrics. Discriminant validity and convergent validity. Does this make sense to people? Okay, so we got that one.
Sorry. But that's not testing if people who have anorexia are also depressed, is it?
No, it's basically taking the scale that you have here and just seeing how well it correlates with this other measure. It's not a research study. It's more of a, does this scale really relate to this scale thing? You could actually do a study to see if people who have bulimia or anorexia are depressed and run a study like hypothesis testing about that. But this is more the psychometric aspect of this is different than that. Go ahead, please.
I'm feeling like I might have heard of the term discriminant validity used in a study that was like had created a new assessment and they wanted to find out if it would detect mild cognitive impairment. So they did like normal population of people who had an injury. Would that also be a way that that term could be used?
You could use it to see if there's discriminant validity with people who have this disorder versus not. I have one more article to show you that may actually get at that just a little bit. So this is the way we like to run things. A factor analysis, convergent validity, discriminant validity. There are other types as well, but these two kind of highlight. The other article I wanted to go into, please.
So if you're examining something to look at validity and you've got a series of things, do you, based on previous research, intentionally pick some things you think are going to be discriminant? Because you have to figure out something to compare them to, so you have to make a decision about what
Yeah, you do. And if you look at the article, they probably gave the bulimia and anorexia survey to these depressed patients and found that they were not really correlated, their answers to that necessarily. So psychometricians, that's kind of what they do with their research. I personally don't do a lot of psychometrics, but I thought an introduction to the realm would be useful. But the last article I wanted to bring up, one near and dear to my heart. I know you've heard this story before, but this is actually kind of, I think, something that some of you might get into. You guys deal with people with traumatic brain injuries?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't think everybody has heard this story, but I think I shared a little bit at the start. I used to be a big bicycle rider. I said I think I biked from Binghamton back to New Jersey in a day for 206 miles. I'm the chair of the State Asthma Coalition. So in September of the summer of 2013, I said, I want to take a one-day bike ride from Roanoke to the asthma capital of the country. Guess where the asthma capital of the country is? Richmond. And so I said I wanted to do that. And I wanted to do that. It turns out that asthma month, there are all sorts of reasons for that, but that's not the purpose of what we're going to talk about here. But I'd be happy to engage you in that conversation at another point in time. But it turns out that May is both bike month and asthma month. So in the summer of 13, I decided that in May of 14, I was going to take a one-day bicycle ride, kind of going back to the Binghamton days. But Binghamton has a ton of mountains back in that realm. I was going to bike from Roanoke, 180 miles in a day. This is 25 years later. From Roanoke, actually over to right here, Waynesboro, cross over Afton Mountain, the only mountain, and make it down to Richmond, 180 miles. So in September of 13, 8 months before that, I actually already biked from Roanoke. I made it up to Fairfield. Do you guys know Fairfield? 120 miles already 8 months before as a guy with asthma biking up there. But then 2 days later, that kind of ended. I was biking to school to Jefferson College from Roanoke, and 3 blocks from my house, the wind was kind of in my eyes on a downhill. I fell asleep. That was not a good idea at all. I fell asleep, and I always wear my helmet since growing up in New Jersey, because you got to wear your helmet in New Jersey. And I suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, and I was in a coma for a week, an induced coma for a week. I was very blessed. I've recovered all my functions since then. But biking has not been so much of an important thing. But I wanted to bring this article up because I think this is something that you folks might come across. So this is in, I'm not sure what journal it's actually in here. Do they say the journal on top here?
Journal of Head Trauma Rehab.
Yeah, so is this kind of an OTA, PTA kind of, I mean, I just saw it as being part of it, but I was looking at this, and as you look through this article, they kind of do things here. So they tried to develop the scale, but nowhere in this article do they actually do, what should they do if they have a new scale?
Factor analysis.
Do they? No. They gave their scale out to some people. They did do some things with reliability, I believe. In validity, they actually asked, I think, a couple of people to rate things. If you have people rate things and they rate them the same, does anybody know what that is called? Inter-rater reliability is one type of reliability. And then if you give this scale to people at time A and time B, and there's really not much of a change, if it's, maybe a week later, that's called test-retest reliability. So this article kind of does that type of stuff. Yeah, the reliability estimates are here. They look at these things, but nowhere in there do they really do that. So this is an article that if you were going to have students work on this kind of thing, this could be something that you could actually develop a reliable and valid scale, because they didn't do it here. They still got it published. They did a lot of inter-rater reliability, test-retest reliability. But this is the field basically of psychometrics. In the field of psychometrics, you basically try to come up with reliable and valid subscales. You do a factor analysis. You see what the factor loadings are for things. You try to see if you have test, retest reliability. There's a lot of other, there's construct validity and a whole lot of other things. But I just wanted to give you a little sampling of psychometrics. Do you guys have any comments or questions about this particular realm? Okay, well, let me cut off the recording here now.